Welcome back to another episode of the Black Cinema Experience
Podcast.
I'm your girl, JV.
And I'm Cameron.
And we're back with a super exciting episode for you this week. We watched the new release of Wicked Part 1, because Part 2 doesn't come out until December of 2025. For anybody who wants to know, yes, my feelings are hurt by it.
Exactly.
Yes, I do feel a way about it. But Part 1 was phenomenal. So we're back to talk to you guys about that movie starring Cynthia Erivo,
Yes.
Ariana Grande,
Of course.
Jeff Goldblum,
Jonathan Bailey, Michelle Yeoh.
ooh yeah, Michelle Yeoh, and directed by John Chu. The reason why that's important is because John Chu, though he's not black, is still a person of color, and it's really awesome to see our people of color getting representation, coming out as directors, having these being charged with that, multi-million-dollar responsibility of bringing those films to life. So it was really exciting to see what he did with this film, and we're just gonna hop right into it.
Absolutely.
Cameron, you watched Wicked. Scale of 1 to 10. What are you giving this film?
This movie is 10s across the board.
Correct. Infinity out of 10. That's how I rated it as well.
Phenomenal. And just a little backstory. Back in 2000, me and JB got to see Wicked on Broadway. So it's
yes, I don't brag about this experience because I was tired, and when we saw Wicked in New York as teenagers, I think I slept through the second half.
That is crazy.
Yeah, after Defying Gravity, I was out cold.
I couldn't sleep. But then again, as you grow older, you learn to appreciate things. But the reason I brought that up was because even back then, we had like a little behind the scenes meet and greet with some of the cast members of Wicked. And that's the first time I saw that there was a black understudy for Elphaba. The production we saw, the Fiera was black. So I thought that was pretty interesting because this is a big, production musical. Had just won a Tony a couple years earlier. So it was like a really big deal to see this movie incorporating, black people, especially, like effortlessly, not being a big deal. So I thought that was a really interesting fact to see back then. And then now, obviously, Cynthia Erivo being Elphaba. Elphaba has microwaves. Like, this is amazing,
I was just happy to be in the room. I don't recall any of those things. But when it comes down to Elphaba having braids, though, yes correct. Right? Our Disney princesses, I'm not mad at them for giving us braids. I'm happy. I'm happier to see the braids than I would be if I were to see pressed hair.
Yeah.
Or to lean all the way into an afro.
Yeah.
But to see our Disney princesses like Cinderella, Ariel, Little Mermaid as a black princess essentially, and then to see Elphaba with her braids, it really is refreshing.
Yes.
Because we're not monolithic creatures. Dang. Stuttering bad today. We're not like monolithic creatures though, so we have all these different ways that we can be. So it's really cool to see, hey, we have a black Elphaba.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it, and I'll let you talk about it. So I don't want to steal your time.
No, we can jump right into it. I'm sorry, I also want to feature my Wicked Cup Elphaba, Team Elphaba.
Yeah.
She's Galinda.
Rooting for everybody black.
Exactly, everybody black.
And you know what? I'm not even gonna hate on Galinda.
We not.
I'm not gonna hate on her because I honestly have never been a fan of Ariana Grande. Mm-hmm. I've always thought that her I thought that the character that she's portrayed on everything has been over sexualized and the hyper feminine for the male glaze for the male for the male gaze. Right, I said glaze. Now see. I told you.
It can be for that too. It can be for that. It can be for a glaze too.
But for the men, no, fat, gross, ew, boys are nasty. For the male gaze, so it's very giggle, but for this movie, her ultra femininity that she's always leaning into was perfect. Mm-hmm. I actually loved her in the film. Mm-hmm. I actually was like, if I would have saw this from her before all the other versions of her that I've seen, I would have fell in love with Ariana Grande. If this was the only version of her that I had ever saw, I would have been 100% a fan because she killed her role as Belinda. She was amazing.
I think it fit perfectly, and I mean we've seen all the interviews like that, but we do want to dive into, like you were talking about, this movie. Well, Elfa being played by a black woman, I feel like is so fitting because nobody can understand. Literally, having a different skin color like a black woman, like it's literally perfect. And even though, like, there was a little debate about it because they were like,
there was a debate about it.
Yeah, there was like a little controversy. Again, there's always controversy when black women are thriving and bringing something to to a character. They were upset. They were like, technically she's white. First of all, this is the land of Oz. It doesn't exist. So white doesn't exist, black doesn't exist, and you literally have a green character, which quite literally doesn't exist. So it's just so funny to hear these arguments and people always trying to white supremacy always trying to infiltrate these spaces. But I feel like it was so fitting for Cynthia Erivo to play this role because, again, a black woman playing a role about skin color and being, literally mistreated because of skin color, and it being so, like, being able to be so palatable to white people, I feel like, I think it was just clever and it was just fitting. Period.
Right, because we're not doing it for, like, white exception. Like we had to talk about, like, how color plays a part in our everyday world. So to see Elphaba play this character, and she's green, and she's standing out, and she is, like, essentially ostracized. She's, like, left alone. Anything that she does is hyper reviewed. Like it, like her dancing at the party and stuff like that. Like when black people do it, everyone's watching. We're zoomed in. We're ready to criticize. We're ready to offer all of our opinions. We are isolating you. Like, the world is isolating you. So there's all these isolated experiences that black women have. I, as a black woman, like, I talk about it often when I come into my office place, and I am the office black. I talk about how isolating it is and how it really feels. So to see Elphaba in this role where she walks in and she's green, because she's green, everyone's looking at her like she's crazy. Like, it mirrors the black woman female experience, like, on a day-to-day basis. So I really enjoyed the fact that they used Cynthia Erivo for the role. The colorism thing, it could have worked out with anybody. Like, her being a green character, they could have used anybody for the role. But who better than to sympathize with that experience than a black woman? So,
well, that's why I said palatable, because, again, like you said, it could have been anybody playing a green character, but I feel like nobody understands being penalized. Like, a white woman doesn't understand being penalized based off skin color. Like, the fact that, like, I feel like a lot of people don't understand it when a black person is saying it. So having to see it in this extreme, like somebody being green, I feel like a lot of people were actually like, "Oh, that's not right," and you're like, "Yeah, that's what we've been saying the entire time.
There's no room for her."
Exactly.
Oh, that's not right.
It's messed up, and it's like I feel like people didn't really recognize it until they saw, like, something being so obnoxious, like her skin being green. But black people have been saying it this whole time. Like, this is what our experience. And so, like, again, seeing that, I felt like, and seeing it done so well with so much care and, again, intention. Cynthia Erivo was very highly, just based off her interviews, she was very highly involved in the role. She's the one suggested, I want microbraids. I feel like that's something, she was like, that's a part of me, These are things she was thinking about. And I felt like, again, so clever. Her talking about her nails. She was like, in the original Wizard of Oz, she had nails. But how, essentially, what a black girl would wear her nails, like, how her nails be, and having her nails and stuff like that. It was just like, so, again, intentional the way that she portrayed this character. And I thought it was very fitting. I thought it was very fitting to have Ariana Grande because, she fits that blonde aspect so well, but her also being white and Latina, I feel like, again, is another layer that you can add to these roles. And I feel like it was very, very just articulated so well. Like, I can't say it enough. I was so highly impressed.
So, when you watched Wicked as a kid, right? Did you ever, before we had Cynthia Erivo playing the role, did you ever think about that character being a black woman before? Or was this movie the first time that you actually were like, oh, wow, good choice,
Well, again, I feel like as a child, you don't really pay attention to stuff as much. I said, like, earlier, when I saw that our understudy, her name was Grande, I can't remember her last name, but she was like one of the first understudies for Elphaba and the first black understudy for Elphaba. When I saw her, like, talking about, like, her experience, I was like, okay, it clicked. Like, okay, it does make a difference for a black woman playing this role.
Mm-hmm.
And Dina Menzel did an amazing job. Again, I would never take that from her or Kristen Chenoweth, the original two, Elphaba and Glinda. But as I've gotten older, like seeing it happen, I feel like it just makes so much more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why wouldn't you cast this character? Again, it could be any race, because again, this is the land of Oz. This is like, there's really not any race. There's like, just different types of people, talking animals. Like, this is not a real place. But I feel like, again, when you have something like this and you are able to put people, when you're talking about oppression, and you're able to put people who've actually been oppressed in those roles, it's just going to come across that much more authentic.
Well, when you talk about things like that, like the authenticity of the cast that they chose, right? It leads me to talking about the sister Nessa Rose, right? One thing that we see on movies and TV a lot is characters that have disabilities, but you hardly ever see an actual disabled person playing the role. And, like when I was in school and I was doing like film classes and things like that, like it was kind of brought up like, oh, it's more expensive to have, people with actual disabilities because you have to have more care for them. You have to have more, arrangements like ramps if they're needed, et cetera, et cetera. Like, so they talked about that, but really it really just boiled down to the industry's inconsiderate.
Yeah.
That's what I got from it. But to find out in this film that the real Nessa Rose is actually a woman who's wheelchair bound, as well as the child Nessa Rose, who really is in a wheelchair as well. It really was heartwarming because it's like, finally, you're casting a role and you're putting people in it that actually can relate to the role. Exactly. So again, it's just another one of those moments where that thoughtful, considerate casting comes into play.
Exactly.
Just like with having Cynthia Erivo playing Elphaba, having an actual person who's handicapped playing the sister that's handicapped. It just makes sense. it just makes sense. Yes. Now, when I watched Wicked the first time and I saw Kristen Chenoweth and, oh my goodness, white girl, Taye Diggs' ex-wife, Idina Menzel. When I saw them in Wicked as a kid, I never would have been like, oh, she needs to be black. That whole color thing never mattered because I was in love with the story of Wicked, right? But the thing about it, as a little black girl watching it, I was in love with the story because I felt isolated as a black person. So seeing her with colored skin and seeing how she was treated, I was like, I relate to the story. Exactly. It didn't matter that Idina Menzel wasn't black. It only mattered to me that she was green. And I could relate to it. So to see Cynthia play the role, it's a cherry on top of an already sweet story for me as a black person who deals with feeling isolated, etc. And like as a black woman, I know like a lot of black women in my space, like in the environments that I occupy, like with work and like life and stuff. There's a lot of different friends that I have that also feel like they're having an isolated experience. Being a black woman can be very isolating because our community is not always accepting of us, like black women to one another, but black men to black women especially. We don't really feel accepted often. So that feeling of isolation that she channeled so well was something that I was just like ready to cry about.
I was crying.
I went with two crybabies, two water cries. I was like in the middle of an ocean. I was in the Jordan River was in the middle of two oceans, and it was an experience.
No, but I feel like, again, I'm glad you connected to it because it's so important to like exactly be able to connect with these characters. Like, and again, all art, you want to be able to see yourself and be able to like, put yourself in the story. And I feel like the story touched so many people, and a lot of people have felt, abandoned. A lot of people felt like an outcast. So being able to like see yourself in that story was like, it's really important. Yeah. Very important.
Yeah. But like when you really get to the nitty gritty of the storyline, let's talk about it. Let's educate the others in case anybody missed it, okay? In the beginning, we see Elphaba's mom and her dad, and we learn about them. We learned that Elphaba's mom was a little floozy, a little bit,
have a little fun,
a little promiscuous. And something that we glaze over is she cheats on the father with the wizard.
She didn't know it was him.
She didn't know he was the wizard, whatever, but she definitely cheated on her man with the wizard. And the wizard essentially gave her the green concoction that created Elphaba. Okay? So Elphaba is the byproduct of the wizard. The wizard is Elphaba's daddy. She is talented, but she is the talented daughter of the wizard, and she was green on purpose, right? Because
well, I don't know.
Is that implied?
Well, I don't know if based off the book, it's different because in the book she was her mother was actually sexually assaulted by the wizard, which is the book is some other stuff. The musical PG, the book is a little R-rated, but
never knew that.
Yeah, but and based off the play, I don't think the wizard knew he was like over here gonna make a green baby, but
okay, got it.
but he was making babies. You know,
yeah.
You know what I mean. So I mean, I thought that was an interesting aspect too because again, she's confronting essentially her creator, which can, I mean, you can take that as religious like allegory. No, I don't want to go that far, but it's just like somebody like the unknown of like. You always being different for a reason, and then that person always still needed you. It's like, I thought that was crazy, like the parallel.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that the wizard was her daddy, and that's why she was so powerful. But that's also why she was green.
Yes.
And if you think about the book, if the book it involves a rape, then it makes even more sense why she was green because you know, involuntary, like with the magician type thing, like more of a curse. Yeah. Because if you're raped, that would be a cursed baby to have.
See, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Quite interesting. Quite interesting. But the wizard was played by Jeff Goldblum.
Yes, and I love Jeff Goldblum.
I love him too. I think he did a good job with the character. He was having a lot of fun with it, but I just find it to be interesting that one thing about the movie that I really caught me off guard or I paid attention to is that Elphaba was noticed for her great power. So when you think about that and you do the whole comparison when it comes down to black people and just how we perceive things, right? Like as a black person, you often don't get any type of acknowledgement or recognition until they see that thing that they can profit off of. They being the workplace, their friends, like the world. Like they see that thing that you can be, profitability, and they're like, yeah, that person, I want to attach myself to that person. I want to support this person in their vision. So it's very interesting that with Elphaba, for the first time ever, she was being seen, but it was just because she had this great talent. And they said to themselves, how can we use this talent to our benefit? And then, she goes off and she meets the wizard, and that's how easy it was. She just sent a note up, and the wizard, now the wizard is coming here, you're going to meet him. And that, to me, it just said a lot. It was very reflective of how often we go unnoticed, and in the moment that we are seen, everybody sees us being seen, right? Like Linda she was having a conniption. She's being seen, I'm not being seen. She's getting classes, I'm not getting classes. She's special, I'm not special. But to see her get all that notoriety, to get all that praise just so they can use her. I don't know, again, telling of the black experience, which is so interesting that they used a black girl. If it was the other way, if it was still, Idina Menzel playing that character, I wonder how I would have received this entire movie. You know what I mean? I wonder how, we know the story of Wicked. We get it. We get the whole isolated, you're an outcast. We get that. I just wonder how I would have perceived all those things happening to that character if she was played by a white woman.
Well, I'm just gonna say it, in this political climate and these days, I feel like I wouldn't have perceived it as well if it was a white woman, to be honest, because
y'all not relating to that.
Exactly, because again, everybody can relate to rejection, but you don't know that rejection like racism rejection. Correct. Okay, until you experience racism. Until you experience the type of oppression that comes with something you cannot control, skin color. It's for that being the literal only thing different. Because Elphaba's smart. She had power. That's the great thing. You would think her dad would use that to his advantage at being the governor of Michigan. But because of the color of your skin, instant hate. So again, I feel like it's not a problem with white women playing the role. White women continue to play the role, Latino women play the role, and as they should. But I'm saying, I feel like the way things are right now in this political climate, at my grown age, it would have been perceived way differently.
Well, with Ariana's character too, So Ariana's character, her one thing I liked about Wicked is that, like, defying gravity, right? You know, if I'm flying solo, at least I'm flying free. Okay.
Now preach.
The thing that's interesting to me about this, and why it's even more entertaining that it's a black woman, is because I feel like black women never have support. So during this whole time, you know, like, Elphaba's trying to figure out what's going on. She's trying to figure out her life plans, like, what am I do with these powers? You know, she gets invited to go see the wizard. She brings Ariana's character with her. She brings Galinda with her. So, like, she's doing all these things. But when it comes down to, okay, well, now we know that the wizard's bad. Are you going to take my side? Glenda still had a pause. Glenda was like, hop on your broomstick and do what now? No, that's on you. And then Cynthia, you know, does if I'm flying solo. I respect that so much, but the truth is, like, that is the way. In that same, it's a mirror to the black woman's story. Because, like, first off, we don't have any support. And then we finally get support because, damn, she is kind of good at things. We can't just keep ignoring her. She's great. And then you get that acknowledgement, but then you find out, oh, they're just trying to take advantage of me. They're just using me, whatever. And even in those moments where you're like, hey, they're trying to take advantage of me, she still didn't have support. You came with me. You were supposed to be my friend. You're supposed to be here. On her ticket. You're here on my ticket. Off of me being so legit, you are here with me. And here you don't have my back. And now I'm going to get on my broomstick and defeat the wizard that you're still giving him praise and still giving the wizard
credit. He has no power. Can't read nothing from the Grimoire.
And you just saw what I'm capable of doing. You know who's holding all the keys. But yet, you literally are going to tell me no, that you're not going to hop on this broomstick with me and fly away.
It says in the lyrics, she says, I hope you're happy now that you're choosing this, you know?
I hope you're happy. And
even Elphaba, when she has her vision, she says, you know, she says that we can do anything and we won't fail, you know? To me, again, after I just saw that, I'd have been like, no, let's go.
You just said we can do anything and we won't fail.
And you saw it in the vision because you just read from the Grimoire, you just did all this. So I'm going to trust you, but to see, like, how, again, black women have even just power, whether it be talent, the resources, anything, the influence of the greater majority is always going to overpower what you can bring. Like, you know, and that's crazy to me. It's like,
it is.
She just showed you that the wizard has no power. I have the power. Madame Marble came and touched me. Madame Marble got power. But you still going to be like, because the influence he has is still greater than your word, than your power. Because of, to me, white supremacy is a word. It
makes me say, like, how could this character have ever even been played by a non-black person? Literally. Because of how well it ties in to the black experience. Like you said it perfectly. But all the power in the world, none of the trust. all the skill and ability, all the intelligence, all the everything, but nobody believing in her. Like, in every moment, too, like, in the movie a lot, her sister gets mad at her, like, Elphaba, you ruined this, like, Elphaba. And it's like, but do you realize what's happening to your sister? You realize the corner that she's put in, that she doesn't have a way to get out of this without causing a commotion? Like, you know, what would you do if you were constantly being told that you're the bad one, that something's wrong with you? You know what I mean? Wouldn't you lash out? You know, and if you lash out, are you going to be that person who embarrasses your family and friends? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like black, I feel like just how Elphaba had to be contained in her emotions is a way that black women have to operate in a lot of spaces. We have to be contained. If we don't contain all of our emotions, if we don't completely shield everyone from what we're feeling, thinking, and experiencing, then we are the monster. We are the enemy. We are the person to be afraid of. Exactly. We're talked about with everybody. And they were all so quick to say that Elphaba was the problem without ever speaking to her, without ever knowing. You know what I mean? So again, it's just like hard to even think that this character was played by somebody other than a black woman.
Period. But on a sidebar, if my sister ever did some messed up stuff like that, she would have got spell put on her right then and there. I'm over here trying to help you and you get mad at me.
Why are you here? You're making things worse. This is my chance at a fresh start.
Like, girl, I am the fresh start. Anyway. But sorry. That was the but I also want to bring up, because again, this being a musical, I feel like this is, a little controversy. Like, because I from what I've seen, it's like a niche thing for Black people to love musicals. And I mean, I'm not trying to put no stereotype on Black people. I'm just saying, you know, growing up, me playing musicals in my household or just like around other people, if it wasn't for my choir friends, I would have been just complete total outcast because everybody's like, "What the hell are you listening to?
Yeah.
What is that?" So like,
because y'all were deep.
No, but I'm just saying.
Like I was deep. Y'all was deep.
No, but I'm saying, but like being able to be in a group, like, you know, to be able to have those Black friends and experience that, like I'm saying, like, you know, seeing the musical and stuff like that. How do you feel like? I feel like this musical actually helped invite a lot of Black people to meet into like that whole world of musical theater. Not that Black people haven't been part of it. There are a lot of huge Broadway stars, Black, Audrey McDonald, like so many.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying, like, as far as like, you know, it not being such a niche thing, it being like more like mainstream and seeing so many different Black people. Like if you go on TikTok, it's like, I'm talking about hood niggas, like everybody like loving Wicked. I thought that was like such an interesting thing to see. Because, yes, literally. Like I was like, I'm so happy. Like
you have to send me them. I need to see something.
We didn't know for real because
the good niggas watching Wicked. I need to get me one of those.
I'm telling like
popular.
Exactly. No, that's why I was loving it because I was like, I felt like again it was also like a way to get, like again like a group of the Black, because we're not monolith like you said, like Black people that might not have experienced something like this and they get to see something like this. I thought that was like so amazing to me. Like again, it was like another uniting.
You're saying Black representation is important.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking about it, I'm understanding this as it's good to see Black people showing up and relating to a play and a musical when usually we don't have musicals that we relate to that are, unless they are very much so
like
slave musical, like Fences, like, you know, we're destitute, we're broke, we don't have nothing, like, you know, like you don't see Black people in these musicals being able to really embrace the fairy tale. And you're saying it's nice to see Black people having something that's like a musical that
but also getting involved, like, you know, I like last time we seen it was Black Panther. I mean, it's been other ones, but
that's not a musical.
No, but I'm saying, like, as far as like being in the fantasy, like Black people being able to be the fantasy,
right?
And that's what I loved about this movie too, because it wasn't just, even though it wasn't just Black, like it was like I talked about it earlier, as far as it like being so effortless of like the inclusion. You saw every shape and size, every creed, every color, every nationality. It was, which was beautiful to me because again, this is a fairy tale place, but like. That's what we're all striving for, as far as all being unison and like just say, hey, we're all people. We're all here, like trying to just like, you know, get together in harmony. And yeah, that's like utopic thinking, but it was just, I feel like it was really good to see, and it being a musical to me was also like, that's even better. And then seeing like having Cynthia Erivo add a little bit of soul to the soul to the musical, you know.
So what you're saying, like having Black people in this musical made more Black people watch it?
Yeah, I definitely do think that part. But I'm saying I wasn't expecting so many Black people to be in support. Yeah, and I thought that was a really good like experience to see. You know, that was something I was really shocked and I really loved seeing.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, I'm happy that we're like coming out and saying the things that we're really interested in. I mean, I feel like in 2024, there's no labels that we should be running from anymore.
Absolutely.
So everybody should be able to enjoy things like musicals and Broadway and all that stuff. And in the past, it would have been a more of a female/gay male dominated thing versus straight men being involved. So I agree with you there. It's a story with, it's a musical or a play, whatever, with a excellent storyline. So again, if you're a person who enjoys a good story, this movie should do something for you.
Set it up for you.
Yeah, but character-wise, I want to talk about Ariana Grande's character just a tad bit more,
Absolutely. Right?
Galinda. Overall, like when you see her character and you see her mission to change Elphaba, right? What do you feel about like Glinda's character? Do you feel like she's really a good guy, bad guy, secret good guy. Like, you know, in the beginning, we're learning about her in the very beginning of the movie, and she's like coming out of this bubble, and, you know, basically she's the face of all these wonderful things. So it's like, was Glenda ever a good guy, or was she a bad guy? What is your thought on that? You know, because she doesn't get on the broom. So I mean, she didn't roll out with Elphaba. She did not have Elphaba's back. She was not her friend, for real. Go ahead.
I agree. She's not a friend.
So if you had to put her in a good guy, bad guy category,
I definitely think bad guy. My thing is, the problem is that we, especially in this time and day and age, we're always like looking for the good in people, which we should. But also, no actions speak louder than words. And again, not her just get off the broom, but like the whole time, Galinda is only she's only prospered because of Elphaba. Mm-hmm. And again, the one time she really needed you,
you didn't have her back.
You didn't show up. You know, and I just feel like when somebody like Mike Angelou said, somebody tells you who they are or shows you who they are, believe them. You know, and I believed her the first time when she was acting trifling. You know.
Because she didn't start doing things for Elphaba or like being a friend to Elphaba until after Elphaba had like basically blessed her, you know, with that opportunity. And Elphaba only did that because of her little sister. Yeah. So like, if it wasn't for Elphaba doing that, Glenda would have been perfectly fine making fun of her, giving her the bad hat, you know, laughing at her at the dance and all that stuff. You know, like Galinda was essentially heartless. She was Regina George.
Literally. And my thing is, like, people like, you can always say, well, that's the environment she grew up in. She was growing, she was learning. And then again, things do change in part two. But at the end of the day.
The day ends.
Thank you, Glorilla. At the end of the day, the day is going to end. But seriously, like, I feel like, again, and I hate to bring race into it, but I feel like a lot of times back we always get left out. Like when we have that moment where we're trying to stand up for something, a lot of times your white friends, your other friends, they're not standing up.
They're telling you though in private, this is a really good idea.
Like you need to stand up strong. You need to stand up for what's right.
Believe in yourself.
Come on.
And then you're like, okay, I just need a little bit of support. They're like,
and you going ham like this is wrong, blah blah. You going ham, and you look back, ain't nobody standing behind you.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, like, at the end of the day, she should have been wicked. She should have been wicked, but, you know.
Exactly. But based on what we see with our eyes, it doesn't matter what was true or not true. It's easier to say that colored person, Elphaba, that green person is bad and everyone else is good, even though Glenda knew the truth. Glenda knew the truth, that she knew that Elphaba was fighting for the right cause. She knew that the wizard had no power. She knew. She was there for everything.
And Madame was going to use these flying monkeys to spy on everybody in Oz to keep control.
She knew everything.
And she still knows. So that's what I'm saying for part two. I got all the smoke for her. I got all the smoke for her.
Okay,
I got all
if
the
you're
smoke
listening,
for Madame Marvel.
we want to see part two early. If you could let us have that, please.
Just a preview, just like a sneak peek.
But overall, for me, Wicked was definitely a 10 out of 10. Childhood dreams, like, ignited. I loved it. But watching the movie from the Black experience, it was so much more meaningful for me than I can't even imagine what it felt like for other people to watch it. But as far as like me as a Black person, seeing Cynthia have an opportunity to crack at this role, like Cynthia is not, she's definitely making her way, but she's not like super duper famous. Like not everybody knows her name. You know, so to see her take this role, this really huge role, like essentially like the Broadway version of what Halle Bailey, which one is it? Halle Bailey did for Little Mermaid. Like that was such a controversial moment when she became Little Mermaid. It was like, oh my God, a Black Little Mermaid, what are we gonna do? The whole world's freaking out. And it was like, we just want some Black representation. Like no big deal. You know, we just need a couple Black princesses. It would be really cool if our daughters had someone to look up to. Like no big deal. You know, to see Cynthia Erivo do the same thing but in a Broadway space, to be that Black person in a story that's not all about racism and oppression, to see her. And I say oppression, like saying like she was oppressed, but she was definitely like a witch. To see a Black person be the main character in this magical story without us having to be a Black person in the story, and that being the whole character's presence, right? They're Black, so they grew up in poverty. They're Black, so their parents are drug addicts. They're Black. No stereotypes were used in the making of Galinda's of Elphaba's character. So again, watching Wicked, seeing that, experiencing that as an adult, like top tier moments. Like definitely this movie was one of my favorite movies of this year.
Literally, I mean, between the music, which everybody loves, they didn't deviate.
They didn't deviate.
Like they added things, but they didn't deviate. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So brilliant. Cameos, having Idina Menzel, Christian Chenoweth, Steven Schwartz.
Mm-hmm.
So many different exactly in the musical. The acting,
and it's still let Idina do her original.
Absolutely.
And
because you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. Like, and just even scenes like, especially the scene at the Oz's ball. Like, I'm over here bawling because when she's standing there alone, you know. And then Glenda does come. This is the one thing she did do right, is when she comes and like comforts her and like, you know, let everybody see that, you know, this is a human. She has feelings. She's normal.
She only did that because Elphaba already blessed her with the lessons and the wand. So her guilt is what made her show up for Elphaba. That's why she was never really her friend.
I agree.
She just felt bad in that moment. So like, yes, she did come out and like dance with her. But like, what does that mean?
But my thing is, I was happy because the thing was, well, I don't know, everybody was able to see her humanity. You know, they're not exactly human, I guess.
Yeah.
But everybody was able to see her as, you know, an equal. And she was like, for me to see her in that kind of relief is what like made me like tear up. It was like, oh, she finally gets to like not have to have her guard up like that, you know?
Yeah.
Again, because seeing so many of my friends who are black women always have to have their guard up, to see her like actually have to like be able to relax and just breathe. To me, that was like just.
But what do you think? What do you think about?
Not uh-oh.
But no. What do you think about her? Oh, I forgot.
We can pause. We can pause.
I was about to ask you about Elphaba.
I was talking about how she was able to breathe.
Oh, right. Okay. So what do you think about Elphaba, right? So knowing what we know about Glenda, knowing that we know she's not really Elphaba's true friend, like she really didn't have her back, right? And I didn't read the book. I don't know what happened in part 2. What do you think about Elphaba falling in love with Fiyero?
It's a little messy. But
is it messy because her and Glenda, like, I mean, Glenda, you didn't have Elphaba's back. Like,
I mean,
does she really owe you anything?
But that's the thing. To me, Elphaba is loyal. And that's why, again, also I got really emotional with her singing "I'm Not That Girl" because it's like that anthem for people everybody who's never been picked. Stop. You know,
that one was that's all heavy.
like literally.
How's it go?
Life smile, life will. She is wins him.
Oh right.
She wins him.
Yeah.
Go ahead, gentle girl. She was singing the low E's too. I was like, go ahead.
I'm not that girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that is good.
I feel like.
Oh yeah. I ain't cry because I ain't soft like that. But that was the one for sure. That song right there that she did have me like, oh yeah, nah, girl, for real.
I understand. Well, it's just again like I said, the anthem of people who feel like they've never been picked or always looked over. And it's always the person that. It's always the stereotypical person that people want to go for.
Yeah, the Ariana Grande.
Yeah, so literally, I mean, you know, and it's like, oh, I'm not supposed to be with a guy like him. And to me, you know, it's technically interracial. It was more of the aspect of the guy that everybody loves and adores.
Yeah.
Isn't supposed to be for me. But at the end of the day, he is for you.
Is he though?
Absolutely.
Is that because you read the book?
Because I read the book. Well, in TV school. And
y'all heard it here first,
and
folks.
just personal experience.
okay. We'll see who she ends up with. All right, we'll give it to you. I thought that was interesting too. The dynamics they played on with the relationships, like because the nigga that was trying to get with the sister Nessa, or the one that was acknowledging the sister because Glenda said, "Oh, go pay attention to her." I thought that was really interesting to see because there's so many layers in like these little things like
everybody in love with everybody else.
Everybody in love with everybody else, basically. Like Nessa being a perfectly good girl. And like, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of women that can relate to it when a guy, like, he engages you or interacts with you because he's a good guy. He thinks he's doing a good, nice thing, but he really doesn't have intentions for you. So he messes with you, but he's like, oh, but I don't really want you. I want her. And the person that you're doing that to feels that, you know? And it was really great to see that little, like, triangle of love played out in a movie in such an innocent way. Because it does happen in the real world like that. Like men. You're not doing women a favor when you want to be with somebody else and you settle for somebody else and then you lust after another person.
Especially when I asked you in the beginning.
Yeah.
She said, she literally said, he said, unless I have something to confess to, he said, the reason why I asked you here tonight.
Confess that.
She said, I know why. It's because I'm in this chair and you felt sorry for me. Isn't that right?
And he was like,
no, because you are so beautiful.
What you really meant to say is, Nessa, you're beautiful. Glenda told me to ask you. I was just looking out for a homie. I'm not really trying to be your man, but we can have fun tonight.
And again, but it foreshadows because all that could have been avoided. What Bot got was coming to him. He gonna get what's coming to him. That's like
yeah. So that happens later as well.
Yeah, but talking about relationship, because again, why do niggas just lie? Like, why do y'all lie? You know, like, just tell the truth.
Because you're not hurt. You're not helping nobody.
Especially when I give you the space to tell the truth, and then you still lie to my face. Don't do it.
It's a mental disorder.
It really is.
It's a mental disorder. They can't help it. But I loved being able to see that dynamic though in the movie because they played with that relationship really well. Glenda's relationship with Fierro and them having very spacey, airheaded conversations. I loved that because it showed us like that Fierro had this duality within him as well. Because he was able to engage Glenda and have those very like spacious, airheaded, we're so beautiful type moments and be essentially her Prince Charming. But then he was able to have these deep, deep moments with Elphaba where he had all this humanity, all of these layers to him, all this understanding. So I enjoyed seeing him have layers as well because you don't often see Prince Charming have a real side. It just sucks that it has to be done in a way where it's like there's a real him and then there's a him that he's supposed to be. Yep. And it just sucks that we have to watch him lean into the who he's supposed to be character. Like, why even now we're still like fetishizing that, be this like that two-minded man.
Yeah. Double-minded, yeah, for real.
The double-minded man, yeah. Unstable in all of his ways.
Come on.
It's
the truth.
It's the truth. I'm trying to tell these niggas like, don't bring a Bible scripture to me unless you want to fight. You want to be here all day.
No, for real.
I didn't even realize, but yeah, no, for real. Like, so it's interesting to see his character play with both sides of the fence, with both of these girls being so completely different. But like, people do need to understand and see, like, we have so many deep layers to us, and both things can be true. So I enjoyed that they, played that up for us. They gave us more layers to him.
Absolutely. It was like, again, I can't express how much you need to see this movie. Like, I think after everything that's happened this year, this was a good pick me up.
Yeah.
But see what's going on in the world, I feel like this was just a good way to like give me a little bit of hope and just to like really just enjoy myself, like let my mind go and then just answer a lot of questions to the Wizard of Oz. I love the Wizard of Oz growing up and just having somebody tell a really good prequel to it and just expand that universe. I can see this, being part of like a music park somewhere, like, them really trying to establish Oz.
Hopefully.
So, yeah, I'm super excited.
Right? Because like all the wizards and the Wizard of Oz and Wicked, all that stuff that we have, and we don't have no place that has a yellow brick road.
Come on now. And I did want to parallel to the Wiz, but I mean, that could be another movie, but like seeing like the Wizard of Oz and, having Wicked be the prequel, I wonder if we can have like a black prequel to the Wiz. Yeah. Obviously, we don't want to copy, but I think that's something to think about in the future.
A black prequel to the Wiz. Okay, we will have to talk about that later. We're gonna have to get into the nitty gritty of what that really means that you're saying there. But yeah, black people like theater. Black people,
we love it.
Not only do we love it, but we are advanced at it.
Thrive.
You know, we thrive. You know, the Jennifer Hudsons of the world that have hit theater stages.
So many. I mean, Viola Davis started in theater. Whoopi Goldberg's done theater. Audrey McDonald.
Come on now.
So many. Now
we found this man's love.
Michelle Williams, my favorite member of Destiny Child.
That's your favorite member?
She's always. Tanisha has always been my favorite.
Karen loves the underdog, boy.
I love a good underdog story.
You
Absolutely.
love the underdog. Okay.
So she's on Barbie right now. So, you know?
Yeah.
They always do it. They always do it.
Yes, little black kids, all right? Don't be afraid to fall in love with theater. It's a safe space for you. We do grow up to be the same nerds that we always were. Nothing wrong with it at all. Nothing wrong with it at all. But yeah, make sure you guys give this film a watch over. It was directed by John Chu, and we are very proud of our people of color for being out here, setting new records, creating new things, changing the view. Again, people of color have no issue incorporating diversity, incorporating other races, because they understand that these other races are part of their reality. That's one reason why white people need to not be in certain chairs, because y'all make worlds without everybody else, and everybody else can't make a world without you. You know what I mean? Someone has to play the bad guy,
and we do. It's a problem. But
somebody has to play the oppressor, so you're always going to be in our stories. Anyways, Cameron, did you have anything else you want to add to this movie review?
I mean, I've seen it multiple times, and
what do you mean you saw it multiple times?
I've already seen it twice.
You've already seen it twice with your other friends, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it.
I mean, I didn't get to go Disney with my other friends, but somebody else did. So, but again, thank you so much for watching the Black Cinema Experience podcast. No, I'm saying you're gonna do it to where we say it together.
Okay.
But make sure you like, subscribe, and share, because we want to know what you all think. We want to know if you saw it, if you're gonna go see it. Let us know.
You heard it here first, folks. Make sure that you tune into the Black Cinema Experience podcast. Thanks for watching. Bye.